Are you tired of being overcharged and forced into paying a monthly subscription for your Mac and Windows software? Well, if you are, currently we're having a 50% off discount on all the latest Mac and Windows software, such as AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Photoshop, Microsoft Office, and much more. Our 50% off discount will be ending soon, so be sure to text us "Need Software" to 323-405-1341. That's 323-405-1341. We aim to please, so expect 24/7 technical support, the latest premium software, instant software links delivered to your email, and PayPal buyer's protection guarantee.
www.hoodg.com. Here we got the Godcast crew necks, hoodies, hats. If you don't know where to go to get them, www.hoodg.com. Go get you that Godcast gear, that brand Nubian gear. We got Rod Digger gear, all of that. Go to www.hoodg.com. www.hoodg.com.
We have learned that there are some facilities out there, and they're still, diving into the research, but the facilities are really, really expensive. And by the time a player can get that kind of attention, he's out of money. He has no medical insurance. He's completely written off from the league because they definitely not deeming it to be something that happened on their watch.
Well, let me touch on that then, which is really important with medical insurance. With what happened with Trey, I can't speak of other players, but I'm pretty sure this is happening over and over and over again. Trey actually had gotten sick. I spoke to the coaches and I was like, look, man, he's not the same guy. When he came home, he's not the same guy. And so they were like, well, first of all, they have to document the concussions. And when they don't document them, even if they let the player go, how do you get compensation for that? Because you don't know if it happened on a job. So all this help that they're saying that they have for the players, you have to fall within a criteria. They don't fall within that criteria because there's no record of a concussion. There's no record of them checking on the player and making sure the player is okay after the game. If you don't display it at the game, then they just assume there's nothing wrong with you, but yet they can see the behavior changing. Our situation was that he came home in the off season. I only got contacted from them when it was time to go back to camp. So when it came time to go back to camp, I was like, hey, listen, Trey's not well. He's not okay. And you guys need to come and see him. Well, Jeff Fisher, his thing was, I need him back. I need him back in St. Louis. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. You guys keep saying you don't know why he's not returning. And that's what you're telling the world. But I'm letting you know. The constraints that me and my husband had was that we can't give medical records. There's HIPAA laws that restrict you from giving someone else's medical records. So I'm like, look, come check on him. And they never did. So then that's when we realized that their best interest wasn't Trey. At that moment, the best interest is not in the player. They had their agenda. So if they can make it look like he got arrested and he's starting getting some type of trouble, then they'll just go with that. I don't know, maybe it's drugs or maybe we don't know what shit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. And it's different strokes. Right. And it's different strokes for different folks. The attention that I watch him not get versus the attention that I see other players get, and they can just arbitrarily just ruin their career and get chances after chances. If you look it up, Trey's really just got sick. And I asked them, like, hey, do you get sick days? I mean, do they get sick days? Are they allowed to be sick? Their thing was to threaten us to make sure he came back. Otherwise, he would get let go. They never, ever put in any time to take care of Trey at all. So we realized that, okay, well, I do see you have this reality show going on that you're about to, embark on. And that was that HBO Hard Knock show
Right.
in
Oh, so that
2016.
was their turn, the Rams.
The Rams were invited to do the show.
Okay.
So, basically what happened was I was like, look, let me tell you something. If in fact you decide you want to mention Trey, since you don't want to mention where he is and that he's not well, don't mention him at all on the show, else you're going to have a problem. Because you guys are doing underhanded things that aren't even helping him. And we as parents, we can't do anything.
And now you're going to use that show to try to create narratives and shit like that. Oh, no.
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
Like, oh, he didn't come back, and so we have to let him go. So that's what they did. They actually did that. And in the midst of his troubles, they actually let him go and put him on Cobra and tried to force us to sign the paperwork. And when we refused, they
now,
were
what
like,
is Cobra? Just for people that don't know.
Cobra is like a side insurance that actually is for 18 months, and the player is responsible for the bill and their own health insurance that come on. And it's very minimal. It's very minimal. And
It's
I'm
like
you're
an
gonna
18-month insurance for the unemployed.
Yeah. So we were really perplexed. Like, what are you doing? So you're not going to come. You're not going to tell people where he's at. And you're not going to give us any help. And clearly they were like, well, if he doesn't come back, we're not going to pay him. And this is the route we need to go. And so we just bucked up and was like, hey, listen, if this is what you're going to do, there'll be a day we'll be able to tell our story, because right now our main focus is Trey and his health. So we just continue to let it go that way until this time. It's 7 years.
So is this something that's treatable? And yes, first off, is this something that's treatable?
We don't even know what this something is.
Right.
So, it, like I said, early detection is the best, and you can't get these players to subscribe because we didn't even want to say anything because we didn't want to mess up Trey's career. In the midst of this, they can come out of this thing, at which he did, and went to Canada and played and did very well in Canada.
But then he relapsed.
Right, because he tore his ACL. He got, he recovered, he got the reconstruction, but it threw him into trauma again. So it's very difficult for us to continue to keep fighting against him, and he's not subscribing. But yet we see the behavior, and he can't quite see the behavior.
So let's take a minute, because I pulled up the the legal term, the legal definition, or the going official breakdown of CTE: chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy is the term used to describe brain degeneration likely caused by repeated head traumas. CTE is a diagnosis made only at autopsy by studying sections of the brain. It is a rare disorder that is not yet well understood. It is not related to the immediate consequence. CTE is not related to the immediate consequences of a late life episode of head trauma. CTE has a complex relationship with head traumas, such as persistent post-concussive symptoms and second impact syndrome that occurs earlier in life. So basically, they're already saying that this is something that is a gradual development, and it happens early on. They're saying it's not something that just kind of pops up late in life. This is something that starts early. I'll continue. Experts are still trying to understand how repeated head traumas, including how many head injuries and the severity of those injuries and other factors, might contribute to the changes in the brain that result in CTE. It's a little more extensive. Some signs are thought to include difficulties with thinking, emotions, physical problems, and other behaviors. It's thought that these develop years to decades after the head trauma occurs. So basically, and something that I see come up often is that one of the major things that is affected is their impulse, like their ability to control their impulses. I mean, in layman's terms, I've heard that a lot about CTE. And then you hear these stories of like Aaron Hernandez and I forgot the brother's name, the Kansas City Chief player that he killed his wife. He went to the field and overkilled his wife, like shot her like 7 times in front of his mother, went to the field, called the coach, called the general manager, and then killed himself. And there's like, actually, there's a lot of stories like this. And when I hear this, and then I saw the Antonio Brown news, like I'm even thinking, and I'm not trying to excuse this, but, I even thought about OJ, like, wow, that impulse, is this something that maybe they really don't want to recognize it, because then they feel like it will become a crutch for some of these players who may not necessarily be suffering from it, but can like use it as an excuse?
I think they don't want to admit to it because it's
for one, they got to
pay. The league. It looks bad on the league. It just it's a stain on the league. First of all, let's say they did acquire this early on, right? Some of them may be displaying signs before they even get in the league. But guess what? They're fucking great at their position. And so we want to get them in there to fucking make this money and win the fucking. So maybe somebody turned a blind eye to certain, symptoms that they were seeing, even though they knew down the road, homeboy's going to be fucked up. But right now he's good. Let's take him. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of complicit shit that's going on different levels, from Pop Warner all the way right on up to the goddamn NFL. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I think it is.